Oh, I've been spelling it wrong.
Like blue man.
Hi everyone. I just want to make sure that you can hear me. So we have a little dialog box, which I'm just going to open up. So if you want to just put in the dialog box if you're here, just put your name so we know that you're here. And just let me know I can hear you or the sound is fine. And I also want to make sure you can see the screen as well. So let me know if you can see me. It'll just take a few seconds to do that. All right, so I want to welcome you today. Thank you. So I want to welcome you today to our second math talk this year. And today we're going to talk about specifically kindergarten through third grade math. Also a little bit about bridge kindergarten. And Bebi Bacchus is our math coordinator. She's been teaching for a number of years and teaching math here at OHDS for the past few years. So I'm looking forward to turning you over to her. And we will also be answering questions. So you can type in a question into the dialog box. As soon as the question pops in your head, we will likely answer the questions at the end of the presentation. But you can feel free to pop in the question whenever it comes into your head. All right, so what I'm going to do is just share the screen with you. Well, actually, let me introduce you to Bebi first.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bebi Bacchus, math coordinator at OHDS, and I'm going to present to you about our math program from Bridge K through third grade.
Great. So let me share. And then let me get this up. And then you can just, oops, let's move you down here. Sorry.
Okay, great.
Sorry, why have you there? Okay. I hope that won't block your screen.
It should be fine.
All right.
And then, like Philippa said, there is a chat box, and so please just type your questions as they arise. And after my presentation, I'll be joined by Lisa Blumenband, our second grade teacher, to help answer as many questions as we can. All right, so I'm the fifth grade math and algebra teacher and OHDS's math curriculum coordinator. And I'm so happy to be here with all of you to talk about our math program focusing on Bridge K through third grade. Can they see the screen?
Oh, I don't know. So I don't know how to. Sorry. They may be able to see here, but I'm not sure.
Okay. I hope you can see the screen. Otherwise, we just...
Yeah, we can check if they can. You know what, let me go on to it from this end. You can keep talking.
Okay. So if you've seen our 4th through 8th grade presentation, you will notice some overlapping information, but I promise you not everything will be the same. And if you're joining us for the first time, a little bit about me is that this is my 9th year as an educator, and I am fortunate to have the experience teaching in K through 8th classrooms. I think it's important for everyone to understand why I chose to be a math teacher. And honestly, that reason stemmed from my experience as a student. I've always loved math, and I was pretty decent in my math classes. However, I didn't go as far as I knew I could have. And I remember wishing that I had a teacher who actually took the time to teach me in ways that I would have understood better. So I try to be that person for all the students I get to work with. And fortunately for me, as a curriculum coordinator, I get to make sure that this vision goes beyond me, that all of the math teachers I work with are doing the same thing for their students. As a coordinator, I meet with individual math teachers on a regular basis, ensuring that differentiation, support, and enrichment is occurring in all of the classrooms. I look at student data and provide feedback on instruction and help with lesson planning. And I've formed relationships with other high schools that our students apply to make sure that we are sending them prepared. Let's see, okay. So the basics. The Common Core state standards are educational standards that describe what students should know and be able to do in each subject in each grade level. The content standards were built on progressions of topics across grade levels, informed by both research on children's cognitive development and by the logical structure of mathematics. Common Core focuses instruction on building students' critical thinking, problem solving, and analytical skills. For math, there are two types of standards. The content standards, what is taught at each grade level, basically what you see on our report card, and the 8 mathematical practice standards, which are listed on the slide. The practice standards are the same for each grade level. Together, the content and practice standards develop a habit of mind where students are able to foster mathematical understanding and expertise. Now, these practice standards are not a checklist, rather they are the basis of our math instruction and learning, ensuring that teachers provide opportunities to engage students through these practices, which help students achieve at a higher level.
I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second because I just want to check that we're good. Okay. All right, I'm going to go back to share.
Okay. The 8 practice standards could be grouped into 4 categories shown on this chart. A description of each practice standard and the grade level content standards can be found on the website linked on the previous slide, all of which will be available to you at the end of my presentation. Now you might be asking yourself, how do we develop these habits of mind for our youngest students? And the answer is through our math curriculum. In Gesher, we build foundational skills through educational provocation, where we provoke thoughts, ideas, and actions that can help expand on an idea or an interest a child may have. This opens doorways for developing creativity, critical thinking, and meaningful questioning habits. Provocations allow and encourage children to experience the world for themselves through open-ended activities and provides opportunities for discussions. In these photos, these are just some of the examples that are found in our Bridge K classroom. And as you can see in the first picture, there's a student measuring the length of magnets and matching the length to the corresponding number block. This allows an opportunity to have a math talk where we can ask questions to build his critical thinking skills. And if you look even closer, he's already grouped them by size. So it's pretty great. And our Bridge K students are frequently exposed to activities building their number sense and math literacy. They play with puzzles, do dot to dots, use timers to help quantify time, play counting games. They can actually already count to 20 in Hebrew. And all of these provide opportunities to develop mathematical thinking. In kindergarten, students have daily math practice, which focuses on the calendar. They do numerous activities, including identifying how many days they have been in school, using an abacus, which is a great tool for visualizing quantity and developing quantity recognition. Also by representing number by its place value. Mastering quantity recognition is important in learning addition and subtraction facts. Students in kindergarten observe patterns through a number line displayed around the classroom, which is intentionally color-coded to help students with counting and identifying relationships. For example, all of the numbers with a 0 in the ones place are in black and white, 5s in orange, and so on. This allows us to push students to a deeper understanding beyond rote counting by asking questions of what number becomes before or after, and which numbers are odd, even, and so on. Kindergartners also use Marcy Cook Math, which is a self-paced, hands-on, place value-centered curriculum. Using number tiles, students practice standards-aligned skills that are naturally differentiated to meet students where their needs are. There's a picture on the right, which is an example of Marcy Cook Math, and students are balancing equations. You'll notice on the bottom corner, it says there's a 3 on one end of the equation, and students need to figure out what 2 numbers together equal 3 on the other side of the equation. In 1st through 5th grades, we use Singapore math. This curriculum develops a strong number sense, which builds the foundational skills to be successful in higher math. Now, if you've helped your children with math homework, you'll notice that Singapore math takes a slightly different mathematical approach than what you may have been used to. First, it revolves around several key number sense strategies: building number sense through part-whole thinking, understanding place value and breaking numbers into decomposed parts of friendlier numbers, or numbers that are easier to work with in the 4 operations of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. I will show you examples of what I mean in the next couple of slides. Second, Singapore math relies on model drawings to visually represent a word problem. Students learn to visualize what a word problem is saying so they can understand the meaning and thus how to solve the problem. Third, we have mental math, which teaches students to calculate in their heads without using paper and pencil. And fourth, the strategies taught in Singapore are layered upon one another. For example, students need prior knowledge of bonding in order to learn vertical addition. Last, Singapore math teaches students to understand math in stages, beginning with concrete, which is using manipulatives such as counters, number discs, dice, and so on. Then moving to pictorial, which is solving problems where pictures are involved. And finally, working in the abstract, where numbers represent symbolic values. Through this process, students learn numerous strategies to work with numbers and build conceptual understanding. In this slide, the picture on the top left is an example of a number bond, showing a part-whole relationship. 14 is the whole, and 8 and 6 are the parts that equal the whole. This method helps students work towards addition and subtraction and illustrates strategies to solve problems mentally. Number bonds are related to fact families, where they can also be created with multiplication and division. The picture below is an example of a technique we use called branching, which helps us break down or decompose whole numbers into parts that are more manageable, which also supports mental math. And the picture on the right is an example of model drawings with word problems. We use bar models to visualize a range of math concepts such as fractions, ratios, percentages, and more as we get into older grades. Being able to draw bar models for word problems allows students to determine the known and unknown information in a given situation. It prepares students to understand more complex math on a conceptual level. And this is just another example of number bonds with multiplication at a 2nd grade level. And to the right of that is an example of how multiplication has progressed in 3rd grade. In the picture on the right, this is an example of where students created tiny houses and found the volume using the partial product method, basically, which is multiplying the digit based on its place value, which continues to support more mental math strategies. In this slide, I wanted to show an example of the different strategies we use to deepen their conceptual understanding, building their number sense, all of which supports mental math. And I know that there's a lot on the screen, so if you want to know any more about these specific strategies, please reach out to your child's teacher or me, and we'll be happy to explain and show you how we teach them. The best way to support your child with their math learning is changing your language and mindset about math in general. There is a cultural stigma towards math that is based on years of parents and teachers misunderstanding or having a negative experience and passing these attitudes and beliefs onto their children. I know I've heard the phrases from students, parents, and colleagues of "I'm just not good at math," or "I'm not a math person," or "I suck at math." And phrases like these perpetuate the stigma and fixed mindset. Your negative experience doesn't have to be your child's. More and more research is proving these messages false as we learn how our brains work and how math teaching styles can impact mindset and achievement. Renowned psychologist, researcher, and teacher Carol Dweck coined the term growth mindset, where in a growth mindset, people believe that their most basic abilities can be developed and improved upon, which creates a love of learning and a resilience that causes higher mathematic achievement. I've hyperlinked more information about growth mindset in mathematics and what you can do at home. All again, which will be available to you at the end of this presentation. Number sense is the ability to see relationships between numbers using number bonds, breaking numbers apart. Representation, making mathematical ideas real by using pictures, words, symbols, and objects. Estimation, this is the ability to make a good guess about the amount or size of something. Measurement, this is finding the length, height, and weight of an object using units like inches, feet, or pounds. This also includes measurement of time. So using minutes, for example. All of this falls under this skill area. And patterns. Patterns are things, numbers, shapes, images that repeat in a logical way. Patterns help children learn to make predictions, to understand what comes next, to make logical connections, and to use reasoning skills. Spatial sense is essentially geometry, but introducing the ideas of shape, size, space, position, direction, and movement. And of course, problem solving, the ability to think through a problem, to recognize there is more than one path to an answer, and it means using past knowledge and logical thinking skills to find an answer. You can also help your child at home by building their automaticity and mathematical thinking skills. With automaticity, I do not mean drill and kill with rote memorization and speed, which research has shown it is a detriment to many students. Rather, we are shifting towards a strategy-based approach for learning math facts and focusing on understanding. Yes, we want students to have automaticity with their math facts, but we want the fluency to be rooted in number sense and understanding of how numbers are related. So definitely keep practicing those number bonds, branching, making tens, and using doubles, all to help with addition. All of these are very powerful. And if you're not sure what I mean by any of these strategies, please reach out to me or your child's teacher. As far as building mathematical thinking, simple activities such as incorporating math talks can build important problem solving and critical thinking skills. You can mathematize everyday experiences. For instance, you can ask, if we add 2 more children to your play date, how many children will there be? Or count the number of carrots on your plate. If you eat 1, how many are left? Also, you can ask, how many doors do you think there are on our street? The key is to participate in a friendly discussion over interesting mathematical ideas and concepts. Other activities include imaginative play, where you can act out real-life situations, such as setting up a store or a restaurant, but actually using play money or real money for the transactions. You can bake together, let your child become familiar with the purpose of measuring and understanding quantity. Create a family math night and play games that use dice, card games, dominoes, puzzles, tangrams. There's so much you can do, and if you'd like more ideas, I can share a list of suggested activities and games to play. In our lower school, we provide support and enrichment through differentiated instruction. This is where we tailor our instruction to meet the needs of individual students. Students may work in small groups with the teacher on specific skills to review or extend their comprehension with challenge activities. In middle school, math courses are not leveled by grade. For example, there is no 6th grade math, 7th grade math, 8th grade math classes. Instead, we offer courses based on the subject. Students are placed in the math class that best meets their learning needs. And because of this, we have mixed grade classes. The math classes are taught at the same time, and our course options include core math, pre-algebra, algebra, and geometry. As the curriculum coordinator, I reach out to our local private and public high schools to better understand their math programs, as well as what they expect of incoming students. Using their feedback, I collaborate with the OHDS math teachers to implement instruction that puts a heavy emphasis on conceptual understanding in addition to computation competency. All of our middle school math courses require group work and math talks, which allow students to explain their thinking and develop a deeper understanding of the material. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn about our program. I love to bring Lisa Blumenband with me to answer any questions you may have.
Hi, everybody. So if you have a question, you can type it in the dialog box, and we'll just wait a minute to see if any questions come up. I can show you smiling at the screen.
Or if you don't have any questions, just you can let us know that too.
Yes, right there in that box.
Oh yes, and this presentation will be available on the school website, and
we'll send it to parents as well.
There you go.
There's a question.
Okay, how does bonding work with subtraction? So the same way that in the picture example with 14 being the whole number and 8 and 6 being the parts, you can say 14 is the whole, and if I subtract one part, 8, what is left over? 6. Was that clear enough? As in the same way, 8 plus 6 equals 14. The reverse, 14 minus 6 is 8, if I didn't use that one.
Right. So like, for example,
Yes.
in 2nd grade, when we're solving word problems, we might decide where to put a question mark. If we are doing a subtraction problem, then we're looking for a missing part. We'd put a question mark in one of the parts. If we're doing an addition problem, we're looking for the whole. We put a question mark in the whole and fill in what we know and then find the thing that's missing.
So the whole stays in the whole?
The whole stays the whole, yeah.
Yes. Great question. Regarding mentality, I feel you told us how not to describe math, but how should we describe math? Honestly, I would say changing the I hate math phrase to, math is a little difficult for me right now. So then that way it gives the experience of like, it may not be hard for me my entire career. It doesn't give a hard stop. It allows open for change.
I like to use the word yet. Like, I don't know
Yes.
how to do this very well yet, but I'm working on it.
You're very welcome.
All right, so we'll wait to see if there's any other questions, and then we're ending a little early today, so we can, but I just want to point first.
Yeah, once you start learning all the different strategies that Singapore teaches our students, you begin to see, why haven't I been taught this way? Or you begin to also see that students are able to manipulate numbers relatively easy, and it's awesome. Yeah.
So I'm going to bring up a question which I know I often get from parents, which is, how do I help my kid with math homework when I don't understand exactly how Singapore math works? What would you say to parents about that?
This is where I would say reach out to your child's teacher. Oftentimes, there are going to be strategies that we haven't seen when we were learning math, and having the teacher explain, this is how we use branching. So then that way we can help our students. And I think a better sign is when students are using the strategy, and if they're able to explain how they learn it, and when they're able to explain their strategy, it's another sign of mastery. Is it a conflict with what they're learning in class to have them practice using, for example, Khan Academy? I don't think so. Khan Academy, in my opinion, well, they have the instructional videos, but they're also really good with providing practice problems. And I would say I've seen several Khan Academy videos actually use bar models for their word problems to help represent the equations. So I don't think there's a problem using Khan Academy at all in support of Singapore.
My son loves worksheets. Are we okay to get?
Yeah, totally. I think it's also important. The question was, my son loves worksheets. Are they okay to give him? Yes, it's good for continued practice, but I would also ask questions when, like, how are they solving this problem? What are they thinking when they're solving this? And then make observations of, if we're looking for accuracy, how many do we get correct? If we made a mistake, what were we thinking? What led us to that mistake? And then these types of conversations help build their critical thinking skills. One more question. My son can get frustrated when he doesn't know the answer to something. How best to support him? I think it's just being real of, sometimes this can be hard, and that's okay. If everything were easy, everyone would be doing it. And the only way to get better at something is to continue to practice. Would you add anything?
Yeah, I would just add practicing like things to say when something is hard, not just in math, but in general, thinking of like, this is hard for me right now, but I can get help, or I can take a break and come back to it, or
right.
This is hard, but I can persevere, right? Bringing the middot in it can be good also. And also I think modeling that adults come up against things that are hard for us. Also, you can say like, I was trying to draw a picture on the board yesterday. It was so hard for me, but I thought, I can persevere and I can do it. When's the time that happened for you? Just modeling that everybody has to persevere sometimes.
When I love. Oh.
Right. Nice.
Yeah, that's great. You're doing it right.
All right, so thank you for those of you who could join us today. And this presentation, as Bebi said, will be available. We'll send it out to parents. And if you ever have questions about math, you can always approach the teacher or Bebi, and they'll be happy to help. All right, thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Oh.